Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're opening up a really fascinating file. It covers, well, half a century of Indian cultural life.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
It's a career so rich, so varied.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's hard to believe it belongs to just one person. We are diving deep into the journey of Hema Malini.
The classical artist, the cinematic dream girl, the director.
And, importantly, the three-term member of parliament.
Exactly. It's such a compelling case study, really, in professional transformation. You don't see many like it in Indian public life.
True.
So our mission today, looking at all the source material we have, is to trace that path from this, rigorously trained classical dancer.
Which demands incredible discipline, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Physical, mental, the whole lot. And then trace her journey to becoming this actress who conquered Bollywood, and then, a politician achieving sustained electoral success.
The sheer scope is just mind-boggling. We're talking, what, over 150 films?
At least. Plus 11 Filmfare nominations, the Padma Shri Award.
Which is one of India's highest civilian honors.
Right. And significantly securing 3 straight wins as MP for Mathura. That's a key constituency.
3 wins. That's serious political staying power.
And that longevity, that's really the core of this deep dive, isn't it? A lot of celebrities try politics.
Oh, yeah. It often fizzles out.
Exactly. Few succeed for, over 2 decades like she has. So we're focusing on how that foundational discipline, that almost unforgiving structure of classical dance training, how that gave her the resilience, the stamina, really, to not just survive, but actually dominate in fields that seem so different, so demanding.
Yeah, totally disparate fields.
Her story isn't just about beauty and fame, though obviously that's part of it. It's really defined by endurance and, I think, strategic self-reinvention.
I find that consistent success across such wildly different arenas really remarkable. The fact that she kept her classical roots strong.
Never abandoned them.
Right, while also mastering the, let's face it, commercial chaos of Bollywood.
Yeah.
And then the, structured world of politics. It suggests something powerful underneath it all, some core ethos. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start right at the beginning. We need to understand the roots, where that famous discipline came from.
Yeah, to really get the scale of her transformation, you have to look at her upbringing. It was quite traditional. She was born Hema Malini R. Chakravarti,
okay,
October 16th, 1948, in a town called Amankudi in Tamil Nadu. And she grew up in a traditional Tamil Iyengar Brahmin family.
So a very strong cultural grounding from the start. It's interesting. Her father, V.S.R. Chakravarti Iyengar, he was involved in film production.
He was, yeah, which suggests maybe some early exposure to that world.
Right.
But her mother, Jayalakshmi Chakravarti, the sources seem to suggest she was more the driving force behind the artistic discipline, the rigor.
Okay, so cinema was maybe in the background, but the immediate focus was different.
Exactly. Education and the arts were front and center. She went to Andhra Mahila Sabha School in Chennai, then later DTEA School in Delhi. But the real dedication, the defining thing of her youth, was dance.
And we're talking Bharatanatyam specifically. For listeners who might not be familiar, what does that discipline actually involve? Why is it so significant that she started as a child?
Well, Bharatanatyam is one of India's oldest classical dance forms, and it's incredibly difficult. It demands just amazing physical control, really precise footwork. They call them adabas.
Okay.
And these highly intricate hand gestures, mudras, which are used to tell complex stories, convey emotions, often drawing from Hindu mythology.
Sounds intense.
It is. The training is repetitive, it's intense, and you typically start very young. It demands absolute focus, stamina. The sources really emphasize she was a regular performer in classical dance shows.
So not just practicing in a studio?
No. She was actually out there executing complex solo performances from a pretty young age.
That establishes a work ethic right away, doesn't it? Something far beyond maybe what a typical aspiring actress might have. It's like a career forged in hours of silent, solitary rehearsal.
Precisely. And the sources later credit her as one of India's top Bharatanatyam dancers. That's a reputation she kept even when she was a massive film star.
Wow.
That discipline, the ability to hold a difficult pose, to master complex narratives through movement, to perform under pressure, that was her bedrock. It gave her the mental fortitude that, later allowed her to juggle multiple film projects, then direction, then politics, without really faltering.
It's a fascinating origin. Discipline before destiny, almost, but so many great stories. Her first attempt at films wasn't smooth sailing, was it?
Not at all. She actually started small, a background dancer in a 1963 Tamil film called Ibu Satyam.
Okay, just part of the troupe.
Right. But then she got noticed. An influential director, C.V. Sridhar, spotted her and signed her for his next film, Venirade.
So that seemed like the big break, the moment she steps out of the chorus line.
Looked like it. But here's where it gets really interesting. That breakthrough it imploded almost immediately.
What happened?
She was dropped, dramatically removed from Venirade after just 4 days of shooting.
4 days. Why?
The reason the director gave was, well, pretty brutal, especially in that era's film culture. He declared her too thin.
Too thin. Wow. That must have been absolutely devastating.
You'd think so. To have your talent seen, only to be told your physique isn't right for the camera, and by such a major director.
Yeah.
The sources are quite clear. This was a major setback, a foundational one, really.
Yeah.
But here's the pivot point in her narrative.
Okay.
That specific rejection being judged on her body, not her hard-earned discipline, it didn't make her quit. Actually, it seems to have galvanized her. It hardened her determination to succeed, but on her own terms and, crucially, in a different industry.
So she shifted focus.
Completely. She pivoted entirely to the Hindi film industry in Bombay, Mumbai now. And she carried that rejection, it seems like fuel, that initial failure, basically became the starting gun for, well, decades of proving her resilience.
And that pivot, it launched her almost directly into the spotlight, didn't it? Her official Bollywood debut came in 1968, and it was opposite, an absolute giant of the time, Raj Kapoor.
Yeah, and Sapno Ka Saudagar, The Seller of Dreams.
The Seller of Dreams. Nice title, given what she'd just been through.
Kind of poetic, right. And it was this debut film that instantly branded her. The film itself, well, it had mixed commercial success, apparently, but the marketing team, they knew they had something special.
They saw the potential.
Absolutely. She was immediately given that moniker, the one that stuck forever. The Dream Girl.
That title is just so powerful, isn't it? Marketing genius, really. But it could also be a trap, suggesting maybe just glamour, no substance, in a market full of beautiful faces.
Definitely a risk. How quickly did she prove she was more than that? Very quickly, actually. Her real commercial breakthrough came just 2 years later, 1970, Johnny Maranam.
Ah, opposite Devanand.
Yes. That film was a proper super hit. It instantly solidified her position on the A-list. It showed she had mastered the technical side of commercial cinema, the lighting, camera angles, the specific acting style needed.
Which maybe came easier because of the dance discipline, that body awareness.
Arguably, yeah. That sense of physical precision probably helped massively.
And 1970 was also the year, the start of something huge, professionally and later personally. Sure. Her first film with Dharmendra.
Tum Haseen Main Jawan.
Right, the beginning of probably the most famous screen pairing in Bollywood history.
That on-screen chemistry.
Yeah.
It was just instant, magnetic. You don't deny it.
Yeah.
It sort of created the specific genre they perfected over the next decade, that romantic action comedy blend. It was the start of a partnership that eventually spanned, 28 films?
28. Wow. They basically became this shared mythology.
Pretty much.
But okay, so she's a star by 1970. But 1972, that seems like the year she proved she could carry a film entirely on her own shoulders.
Oh, absolutely. We have to talk about the game changer, Sita Argita.
Yes. Mandatory viewing, you said?
It really is. To understand her star power, she took on this really challenging dual role, twin sisters separated at birth.
The classic trope, but she made it work.
She really did. On one hand, you had Sita, ultra-feminine, passive, domestic, the sharer or gentle type.
Right.
And on the other, you had Geeta, feisty, rebellious, street-smart, totally bindas or carefree.
That's not just playing two different people. It's mastering two completely opposite physical styles, emotional ranges, often back-to-back in the same film.
Exactly. The sources really stress how difficult that performance was. She had to switch convincingly between extreme passivity and this hyper-aggression.
Which, again, you could link back to the dance training.
Directly. Classical dance teaches that precise, stylized way of conveying emotion. It demands incredible technical control. She wasn't just acting in the modern sense. She was executing these technical shifts in character portrayal.
And the payoff was huge. She won the Filmfare Best Actress Award for it.
She did. And Sita Argita was so critical because it showed her star power wasn't just dependent on a male lead. She carried that film, made it a blockbuster on her own merit.
So it cemented her not just as the dream girl, but as a serious acting talent, capable of incredible range.
Absolutely. It set the stage perfectly for 1975, and a character whose name is basically shorthand in Indian culture for talkative courage. Basanti and Sholay.
An icon.
Truly, often called one of the greatest female characters in Indian cinema history. What made her stand out was her independence. She was this quick-witted, sassy horse carriage driver, a Tangawali.
A job usually done by men back then.
Exactly. And she could talk anyone's ear off, especially the quiet Viru played by Dharmendra. She wasn't some demure damsel waiting to be rescued.
No, she was almost like a partner in crime. All that energy.
That kinetic, almost hyperactive energy defined her. And of course, the scene everyone remembers.
The dance on broken glass.
The Kachpi dance sequence. Basanti dances on shards of glass to save Viru's life. It's just incredible cinematic drama, and the choreography.
Required the dancer's precision and stamina, surely.
Uniquely suited her skills, yeah. Her performance there cemented her place in film history. But the film itself, Sholay, its impact was seismic.
It wasn't just a movie. It was like a societal event, wasn't it?
Totally. It smashed every box office record, held the title of India's biggest blockbuster for nearly 2 decades. 19 years, I think.
Wow. And her chemistry with Dharmendra in that film, it just took their on-screen romance and turned it into this cultural legend that went way beyond the cinema.
It really did. It became iconic.
So moving through the 70s and into the early 80s, this was really Hema Malini's sustained peak, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Her career was just firing on all cylinders. The sheer volume of work, acting in well over 150 films across her whole career. That pace alone tells you something about her work ethic.
That kind of output.
Yeah.
It must have needed incredible stamina, but also smart management of her image, right?
Yeah.
Because while the Dharmendra pairing was obviously huge, 28 films together is astonishing.
It really is.
The sources say she consciously didn't just rely on that, she broadened her portfolio.
That's the strategic element coming through again. She very successfully formed other lucrative and critically acclaimed partnerships. This stopped her from being defined solely by the Dharmendra dynamic, which could have happened.
Like with Rajesh Khanna.
Exactly. She had a really successful run with him in films like Andaz, Prem Nagar, Mehbooba, big hits.
What's interesting about this peak era is that she didn't seem content just being the dream girl in big hits.
Yeah.
Did that title ever feel limiting? Or did she use her commercial power to push for different kinds of roles?
The sources suggest she used her stardom as leverage. She wasn't just happy churning out blockbusters, although she did plenty of those. She actively sought out roles in, well, what we might call art cinema.
Okay.
Films like Kanara or Mira, where she played the Pope at St. Mirabai.
Right, a much more serious devotional role.
Exactly. That willingness to step outside the glamorous box and explore more depth, it shows a real commitment to acting as an art form, doesn't it? It reflects back on those classical roots, maybe, rather than just chasing fame for fame's sake.
Now, let's transition a bit to the personal side, because this became huge news and maybe the most complicated part of her public life back then. The romance with Dharmendra. It started on set, you said. Tum Haseen Main Jawan.
Yes, that's where the spark reportedly began, and obviously it grew over the course of making, 27 more films together. Their professional bond clearly deepened into a very strong personal connection.
But the complication was massive and very public.
Huge. Dharmendra was already married, and given the legal situation, the social norms back then, divorce just wasn't a simple option for him.
So they needed a pretty unique solution to formalize things, navigating all those constraints. How do the sources describe their marriage in 1980?
The sources specifically mention they got married following both Islamic customs and Iyengar customs, her family's Hindu tradition.
Right, that was widely reported.
It was this unique approach that allowed them to formalize their union within the existing framework, asserting their commitment publicly while kind of navigating the legal and religious complexities. It was a remarkable balancing act, really, between public persona and deep personal choice.
And from that marriage, 2 daughters. Isha Diol, born 81, and Ahana Diol in 85.
Yes.
What's striking is that even with all these personal complexities playing out in the public eye, her professional momentum, it didn't really seem to slow down.
Not really. In fact, as the 90s rolled around, instead of maybe stepping back, she actually sought more control over the whole process. She moved behind the camera.
Ah, the director phase. Another big reinvention.
Exactly. And the director ultimately holds the authority on set. It's a significant power shift.
So she took on that massive challenge producing, directing a full feature film. Her debut was Dil Ashna Hai in 1992.
It was, and it was a big venture. It starred Shah Rukh Khan.
Who was just exploding then.
Right. And Divya Bharti, also a huge star, so it showed her commercial clout was still very much intact.
She could pull big names.
Definitely. She followed that up with Mohini in 1995, and then much later, in 2011, she directed Tell Me Okuda.
Okay.
Which seemed like a very personal project. It featured both her husband Dharmendra and her daughter Esha, so in a way, bringing her professional life and family life full circle, but this time from the director's chair.
You know, what really stands out in this sort of middle chapter of her career is that duality. She's directing commercial Hindi films, but she never let the classical dancer identity fade, did she? She's still considered one of India's top Bharatanatyam exponents.
This might actually be her greatest cultural legacy, in a way. She didn't just maintain that identity, she actively championed classical arts. She opened her own dance school, the Natya Vihar Kalakendra.
Right.
And she rigorously trained both her daughters in Bharatanatyam too, ensuring that tradition continued right within her own family.
The sources really paint her as this vital cultural bridge, bringing the grace, the precision, the mythological storytelling of classical dance right into mainstream Bollywood, which often used much simpler, perhaps more westernized choreography back then.
Absolutely. And that specific contribution, it got national recognition. In the year 2000, she received the Padma Shri.
Which, again, for listeners, is a huge deal. One of the highest civilian awards from the government of India.
Exactly. And the award explicitly acknowledged her contributions across the whole cultural landscape, cinema and classical arts. Getting that honor really confirmed her status, not just as a film star, but as a genuine cultural icon.
But even with this shift towards, directing cultural work, her star power as an actress didn't completely vanish. She had some pretty high-profile comebacks, didn't she?
Oh, yeah. There was a really significant return in 2003.
Bhagwan.
Yes, Bhagwan, opposite Amitabh Bachchan. That film was huge, and it proved her appeal endured. It was cleverly tailored for her mature star image, focusing on this emotional family drama that really struck a chord with audiences, young and old.
It showed she could pivot again from the youthful dream girl to these more seasoned, dignified, dramatic roles.
Perfectly. Her most recent film listed is Shimla Mirchi in 2020, so she still has a presence, even if it's less frequent now.
But the sources note her main focus today is really twofold, right? Politics and cultural activities.
Pretty much. And underpinning all of that, the discipline remains key. The sources repeatedly mention her routine still includes regular yoga and dance practice.
So that early rigor just never left her.
Never. It just found new channels, new avenues for expression.
And success across all these fields? Well, it translates financially too. The sources give a pretty concrete figure for her 2024 net worth, around 142 crore rupees in assets.
That's the figure reported, yes. Approximately 142 crore. And that financial success is important, isn't it? It gives her the security, the independence you probably need for a long-term political career.
Makes sense.
The assets are diverse investments, jewelry, cars, the usual things. But what's really telling, especially for the next chapter we'll discuss, is the real estate. Properties in Mumbai, Chennai, but specifically ownership in Vrindavan.
Which is right in the heart of the Mathura area.
Exactly. It's centrally located within the Mathura parliamentary constituencies she would later represent. So that detail provides a tangible early link to her future political base.
Okay, so this financial independence, this deep cultural resonance, it really laid the groundwork for her final and maybe most complex reinvention moving into politics.
Yeah, and her entry wasn't immediately through winning an election, was it? It started with a nomination.
Right. She first joined the political structure as a Rajya Sabha member. That's the upper house of India's parliament, often filled by appointed experts or, cultural figures. That was in 2003.
So that gave her an initial taste, an immersion in how the legislative system works.
And that was followed pretty quickly by joining a party formally. She joined the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, in 2004.
Which cemented her alignment with a major national political force.
And then came the big step, deciding to contest elections directly, moving from being appointed to actually seeking a mandate from the people.
Yes, and she chose Mathura, an area just steeped in religious, cultural significance, connected to the Braj region, Lord Krishna. It links back beautifully to her classical dance background, too, with its focus on mythology.
And her success there has been, pretty exceptional for a celebrity politician.
It really has. especially given how often stars flame out in politics. She served as the Member of Parliament, the MP for Mathura, winning in 2014, again in 2019, and then just recently in 2024.
3 consecutive victories. Over a decade. That's a serious mandate from the voters.
It really indicates a shift, doesn't it, from maybe just relying on celebrity appeal initially to actually, presumably, delivering on local issues. The constituency itself is complex, mostly rural, agricultural, but also a massive pilgrimage destination.
Needs a delicate touch.
Definitely.
So what were her main focus areas, according to the sources? How did she bridge that gap between her glamorous image and the hard work of local governance?
Well, her stated focus areas align pretty directly with Mathura's profile. Things like Mathura beautification projects.
Okay, improving the infrastructure for residents and pilgrims.
Exactly. Also supporting local agriculture, which is vital there, and significantly boosting tourism infrastructure.
Which obviously leverages her celebrity status.
Right. It helps draw attention, maybe investment, to the spiritual heartland she represents.
If we think about that transition again, how did that discipline, the dancer's discipline, the film star's discipline, help in politics? Campaigns are pure chaos, right?
Yeah.
While dance is so controlled.
Well, maybe the discipline isn't just about controlling movement, but about controlling yourself, your schedule. Running 3 demanding campaigns back to back while still doing cultural work. That takes the kind of stamina she honed over decades of grueling film shoots and dance rehearsals.
Sure.
And also, dance is fundamentally about storytelling, connecting with an audience non-verbally, campaigning. It's essentially communicating a political story, a narrative, to a huge, diverse audience. It's a skill she'd already mastered on camera in a different way.
That makes sense. However, like any major public figure, especially one under such intense scrutiny, her political career hasn't been without serious challenges, moments of difficulty. We have to mention the tragic incident in 2015.
Yes, we have to report the facts here, impartially. In 2015, Hema Malini was involved in a serious car accident in Rajasthan.
And the outcome was devastating.
Tragically, yes. A 2-year-old child died in the other vehicle involved, and others were severely injured.
And in the aftermath, she faced quite a bit of public criticism, didn't she, about how the situation was handled, her public response?
Yes, the sources indicate the criticism centered on what were perceived as insensitive tweets she posted shortly after the accident. It really highlights that intense pressure celebrity politicians face. Public expectation is often incredibly high, maybe even impossibly high. Any perceived lapse in judgment, especially around something so incredibly serious, it gets amplified enormously by her fame.
Right. It's seen not just as maybe a personal failing, but a political one, a failure to show the expected level of accountability or empathy.
Exactly. It was clearly a very severe test of her resilience, facing that level of intense public condemnation. A really difficult time, undoubtedly.
So when we sit back and look at the whole arc, everything from dancer to MP, what does this all mean?
Well, if you synthesize this political chapter with everything else, what really stands out is how rare her level of commitment is. You just don't see many actors successfully transition from that glamour world to becoming a 3-term MP, holding a seat for over 20 years and total political involvement.
It's unusual longevity.
Very. And her choice of Mathura, a place with deep connections to her own cultural and spiritual roots near that Vrindavan property she owned. That was strategically brilliant. It connected the cultural icon Hema Malini to a stable, religiously significant political base.
So the political success wasn't just about fame.
No, her political longevity suggests it became about something more. It confirms that the discipline learned way back in the classical rehearsal hall. It didn't just fuel film success. It seems to have translated directly into the kind of systematic, committed effort you need for sustained work in democratic governance. #tag outro.
So to try and wrap up this incredible journey, Hema Malini's legacy seems defined by this relentless pioneering spirit and an almost unbelievable capacity for self-reinvention across, 4 distinct, really demanding fields?
Cinema, classical dance, film direction, and national politics.
Yeah. Her career milestones are just etched in popular culture, aren't they? That career-defining dual role in Sita or Gita, becoming the iconic Basanti, the original dream girl, that prolific 28-film partnership with Dharmendra.
And achieving major national recognition, like the Padma Shri. She really built a life defined by mastering different domains.
And what we've traced today, looking at the sources, it really shows that the entire structure of this huge career, 150-plus films, 3 terms as an MP, a lifetime performing classical dance, it was all built on a foundation of just sheer refusal to quit.
No.
The journey arguably started with that Single specific rejection back in 1963, being told she was too thin for a small role.
It's incredible to think about.
That moment of dismissal by a director, it really seems like it might have fueled her drive for control for success for the next 60 years.
It's such a powerful reminder, isn't it? That rejection, if you channel it right, it isn't always the end of the road. Sometimes, maybe often, it's the actual launch pad for real greatness, for that sustained resilience.
Which leads us perfectly to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to think about. Considering her monumental success across cinema, classical dance, direction, and politics, which one of these four very distinct careers do you think benefited the most from the resilience she showed right after that first rejection in 1963? Was it the sheer stamina needed for acting day in, day out? The intense focus required for directing? The lifelong commitment essential for classical dance? Or was it the pure political endurance needed to win and govern in Mathura for so long? Something to mull over.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the extraordinary life of Hema Malini.
We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the source material.